Hey everybody, Josh for Populi here, and I know that this is sheer hubris, but I will now attempt to advise the advisors. This video is going to be most useful for folks with the advising role, but academic admins and registrars will probably gain some value from seeing what advisors get up to. The advisor role in Populi is one of the few roles where having the role doesn't do much on its own. You have to have the role and then be set as an advisor on at least one student. And someone with the academic admin or the registrar role will have to do that for you. Let's look at what someone with an advisor role who's set as an advisor on a student can access on the student's profile. And then we'll check out the advising tab. On a student's profile, I get the activity feed, the bulletin board, the info tab, the schedule, the student tab, and when online enrollment for a term is open, the registration tab. Throughout the student's profile, you get read-only access. You can view all of these elements in detail, but you're not able to change anything here. But there are two ways that advisors can make changes on the student profile. One is that they can add a lock to the student, and the second is that for their advised students, they can register them for classes when registration is open. You'll find the Add a Lock option over here on the left. In Populi, locks prevent students from accessing certain elements of Populi. For instance, a lock may prevent a student from seeing their grades or their transcript. The locks that you have available to you as an advisor will be dependent on your institution's settings. But it's a fairly safe bet that you'll have access to the registration lock. That prevents a student from being able to use the registration tab to self-enroll, even if students would typically have that access. Within this dialog, you select the lock that you'd like to add. You add a reason here that the student will be able to see, and then if you'd like to leave an internal note for your colleagues, you can do that as well. You can also view the lock definitions below here if you like. Let's look at the registration tab. Obviously, different schools handle registration in various ways. Some prevent students or some students, like maybe first semester students, from self-enrolling. They would do this by placing a registration lock on a group of students or by turning off self-enrollment on the course or on the student. However that happens, this won't affect advisors' ability to register students. You go to the student's profile, to the registration tab, and you may see absolutely no courses in which to enroll students. That's probably okay because you see this little toggle. This defaults to the student view. This is what the student would see, and if you toggle that off, you'll see what advisors see. Now you'd be able to select the appropriate courses and enroll the student. Check out the related video if you need more info on how enrollment works. But how do you know what a given student's done and what they need to complete and all that stuff? Well, on the profile, on the student tab, you also have access to the student's transcript and their degree audit. These two things are related. They're kind of the same information presented with two different focuses. The transcript runs down the credits and grades earned for all the courses term by term. You can click into any of the student's courses and see a pretty skeletal version of what's going on in that course. But the degree audit is probably the more useful for advising purposes. Under the student tab, we'll click into the degree audit, and then we'll see that it's organized by the degree requirements set up for this degree. So you can go to one of these course groups for which the requirements have not been completed, and you can look at what has been done and then also see what courses the student could take to complete requirements there. The degree audit is its own ball of wax, important for advising, and we have some videos that go into depth on it as a feature. We've been looking at the student profile, but there's a whole tab in Populi dedicated to advising, and it contains the Advised Students Report. There's a bunch to look at here. The goal is to get a quick impression of how your advised students are doing. We have this line graph that shows the last 30 days of each student's assignment grades, and that's anything they've received a grade on in any of their enrolled courses during that period. It obviously doesn't show you a lot of hard detail, but you can look at it and get a decent idea of how things are ticking along for the student, viewed in the context of their most recent assignment grades. Are they consistently doing well or poorly? Are they volatile? Are they trending up? Are they trending down? This is a little symbol that gives you a cursory impression of how they're doing. You can also see their last attendance here, and then whether or not they're under any current institutional discipline or if they have any locks applied. But the big one here is the column for flags. If you skipped the setup video, we got into flags back there. And if you want to know how those work, we recommend going back to that video and reviewing that. Then you can come right back here. Long story short, your institution sets up attendance and grade thresholds, and then students get flagged when they fall below those. That means you can look down this column and see which of your students are throwing green, yellow, or red flags. So let's say you've got a whole mess of students you're advising and you want to get down to brass tacks. Like other tables in Populi, this one here can be sorted and filtered. Those flags over there look like they might be useful if only we could see this table sorted with all the red flags, the students who need the most attention, at the top. Goodness gracious, if we click the heading of that column, we'll do just that. Click it again and you'll bring the greens up to the top. We could also filter to only show specific flag types. So if I open the filter up here, I have this set to match all. And then on the drop down here, we select the condition flag and set that to flag is red. Click add and then apply the filter. I'm now only looking at red flags. Of course, I could change that, look at yellow flags, etc. Lots of other stuff you can do with this table to use it as a kind of panopticon to get a bird's eye view of your advised students. Before we move on, I want to also mention that the settings tab up here shows you the thresholds for the various flags. Then down on notifications, you can click edit to choose whether you'll be notified when Populi throws a red or yellow flag on a student. Okay, we're hopping back over to the table here because we want to have a look at what advisors are able to see when they click into a student from this table. Folks who've used Populi as administrators might expect that they'll just be taken to a student's profile, but they aren't. They're taken to a student advising page. And you can see that this is similar to the student tab on a student's profile, but focused on pertinent advising details. So we have what looks like a transcript, is a transcript here. And if you look at courses with grades granted, you'll see the letter grade there. But in courses with in-progress grades, if they have grades entered in the course, you'll see their running percentage grade for each course. If you click on that percentage, you'll see a line graph that shows their scores by assignment plotted out. Another helpful feature right here, over on the right, we've got any flags that the system has thrown against this student. And we're getting them in detail. So you can see that this course is getting flagged for absolutely everything it could be flagged for, both attendance categories and both grade categories. And then this is a manual flag that someone has applied to the student, which isn't tied to specific performance markers within the system. If it's within your purview and it makes sense, you could mark this resolved at any point. And then we have this less severe yellow flag here. And we can see that this is based on just grade stuff, not attendance. Up here, we also have the term progress tab. There you can see for each course, their grades by assignment, and then any attendance information for those courses. Back on the overview tab, you can also click on the name of any of the courses listed here, and you'll be taken to that student's advising tab within that course. On each of these tabs here, you'll see details about their assignment grades within the course, attendance, lesson progress, including how much time they spend accessing a given lesson in Populi, and then some stats on their participation in discussions. The idea is that you're able to get more detail on a student's performance so you can have more productive conversations with them, develop more meaningful plans to get them back on the right track. Lastly, and real quickly, let's just make it very obvious how you might contact your advised students. You can do that easily on the advised students table. You can email or text selected students right from there. And then you can also click into a student's advising tab and then click on their name again, and you'll be taken to their profile. Over on the left of the profile, you'll be able to see any options to send an email, or you'll see their phone number there. And you can also click into their info tab to check for more contact info. Simply lovely, isn't it? If you want to explore more training options, you should be aware of our focus sessions. These are 1 hour long training sessions that take place over Zoom. You and several other Populi users meet up with a Populi support rep. You get a little training, and then you get to ask questions. We have a rotating sequence of topics, so if you miss a session on something like admissions or billing, don't worry, it'll be rolling back around. You can get to the focus sessions by going to the knowledge base, clicking on release notes and announcements, and then clicking into focus sessions. We've also popped a link directly to the focus sessions down in the description. I've been Josh for Populi. You've been great. Thanks for watching.